Unlike other states and countries, people from atoll nations have nowhere to retreat to. The ocean is at our backyard and literally at our front lawns as well. There is no higher place that is safe to retreat to, period. That is the big difference from the situation of other small island developing countries. So it's clear that islands are victims and we are suffering, that's for sure. But we also have lots of knowledge and innovations to share as bright spots for others in the fight against climate change. We are not just sitting on our hands and waiting for others to come to our aid.
Code Red for Humanity, a major United Nations report, says it is indisputable that human activities are creating a more hostile climate.
The report is scary and disturbing to say the least, but it also conveys a sense of clarity if and where there were doubts. It also conveys a sense of urgency, especially for big emitters, most of the or all of the G20 countries. It also tells us if we act fast, it will pay off.
Mother-daughter duo, former president of the Marshall Islands Hilda Heine and climate activist Kathy Jetnell-Kitchener, spoke at an online forum hosted by the New Zealand Climate Commission about what the report means for small island nations. The Pacific Islands Regional Climate Assessment already warning of stronger storms, coral loss, and health threats for Guam and the NMI in separate reports released in January.
Sea level rose faster than anywhere else in the world between 1993 and 2015. So it is indisputable that the effects of climate change are more urgent, more varied, and more unpredictable. Clearly, big emitters are not doing enough to curb emissions. That includes Pacific Rim countries. Australia, Japan, New Zealand, and the United States could do more with their NDCs, as well as increase financing necessary to help vulnerable countries.
Amid the pandemic, they're hoping that larger nations do their part to fund and prioritize efforts at the upcoming UN Climate Conference in the United Kingdom this October. It comes at a time when they say education and building trust are vital.
Trying our best at an international level to start pushing for more nations to focus on adaptation and to increase funding and support to small island nations for adaptation. And this is mainly because we've come to recognize what the IPCC has already, just basically recognized, which is that the science is clear, it's going to continue to get worse. And for atoll nations in particular, we have to be protecting ourselves first. So the National Adaptation Plan is really sort of a reflection of our government's goal of looking more internally and protecting ourselves internally.
As a poet, she's adamant about communicating the urgency through art to inform nature-based solutions, including those in the National Adaptation Plan.
It was in those spaces with other Pacific Islander youth that I was able to kind of speak and use poetry to connect to the emotional core of climate change, right? Because climate change is so much more than just numbers and nameless faces. It's also, figuring out how to fight and figuring out where you can get the fire to continue to fight even long after you're exhausted.
Manglona for KUAM News.